It's gonna get serious. What are we doing? You know it. Oh, you know that's right. Oh, you know that's right. You know how big this is. And then all of a sudden, consent of the governed. Here we go. Another episode. It's time. Once again. Tommy P. Eric Sullivan.
Hey, everybody. This is Consent of the Governed. This is pilot episode 0000000. And what we're going to do here is just explain exactly what is going to happen with this podcast. This will be offered on plenty of formats. One video on YouTube and anything else we can get it out on. The other is plenty of the other Anchor FMs and other podcasts.
BitChute, which is always nice.
Yeah. A lot of the stuff in this episode, we're A, going to introduce ourselves, B, explain what the channel's going to do regarding format, and C, just have an organic conversation between the three of us. Two of these guys are guitarists, so this could get musically stupid, but
it's going to.
But
it's gonna get awesome. Is what's gonna happen. Real awesome, real
it's
quick.
It's gonna come a gear form pretty quickly.
Like every guitarist,
it's gonna get organically awesome. Organically awesome. That word organic. It's fucking natural, man. It's not
fantastic.
Organic.
Well, I'm not talking about like Monsanto organic. I'm talking about like we're
it's
just
like,
gonna free flow. And
this is an organic tomato. Of course, it's fucking organic. What is it made out of? Plastic?
Came from the ground, right?
Yeah.
Fine organic, you asshole. I just hasn't seen pesticide for 2 days before it got picked. That fucking went south quick. By the way, you will see us most likely drink things. They're probably not sponsors. They just might be a favorite drink of choice at the time. And all of our sponsors will not be here right now. We are taking in sponsors, and they will be put in throughout the episodes, in future episodes. But as of right now, I'm getting raw with the claw. Don't judge me, monkeys.
Raw with the claw,
I'm judging very hard.
You will. But you and I drank bourbon 2 weeks ago. Like
that's true, though.
So.
I think your package just kind of fell out of the bottom of your pants. Just kind of shake it out like you're shaking out a turd.
Well, no, it's still attached. It's just that big. So, all right. Moving on. Why don't we, while I take a drink here, Tom, introduce yourself.
My name is Tommy Patterman. Eric Sully and I have been buds for 20 years.
Yeah, something like that.
I think we probably met over a mirror a long time ago.
Cool.
No. Yeah.
Many moons.
Could have been many moons.
Yeah.
Just gonna kind of head up some of the sections, give some input, between the musician side of things to the political science, geopolitical science kind of things to the cryptocurrency side of things, and how they all kind of tie in together, believe it or not, with the state of the music industry, with the state of the geopolitical situation, with the state of digital currencies, fiat currencies, gold, silver, commodities, what have you. Background is a lot of rock and roll, growing up in the woods of Wisconsin, baby. Represent. Wisconsin.
Yeah, Scotty.
That's right.
Best kept secret.
America's Dairyland.
Yeah.
Best kept secret in America is what it should say on that plate.
Fuck yeah. Wisconsin. Best motherfucker.
I love Wisconsin.
At least the northern part of it. The rest of it sucks.
I just originally went out east for Brian's wedding.
How'd it go?
Yeah. Oh, it was good. It's pretty out there.
No. Just kidding.
No.
I'm talking about the South. I'm talking about the South part, like Beaver Dam in Milwaukee.
Oh, yeah. Fuck that shit.
Yeah, it doesn't even look anything like the rest of Wisconsin. But anyway, yeah. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I just it's just really funny to see how you can see the decline of creative thought in music really, and not just now, but in many different decades, when you start to get music where you get the lack of creative thought and the lack of creative artists, and you just get basically the producers writing the music, making the music, it's really a sign of the times. And it's a sign that, our geopolitical situation is shit. It's a sign that, our economy shit. The worth of the dollar shit, inflation shit, our wages are still shit. And the things cost way too much, and everybody's living, in this debt slave system. You have people aren't paying attention to lyrical content or real true music. I mean, you can go
there
way
is
back
no
to
lyrical content.
Yeah,
there is
there's none.
Well, there is to an extent. It's just you're not hearing
here and there, but it's just if it sounds like somebody else and they know that it'll sell, that's what they do.
Right.
Who wants to spend their time digging through hundreds of thousands of independent artists to try to find something meaningful? I mean, ain't nobody got time for that. Shoot.
No. So as we're talking about the music stuff,
I was going to go back into the Dark Ages, like and the Renaissance. I mean, look at just now more so than the music, because the music was pretty incredible as well. But look at the art and look at how detailed everything was.
Art is a representation of life. Yeah, art is a representation of life. It's the soapbox of the people. So what are we calling this little music segment due to the fact that we are separating this into 3 different podcasts for our listeners that may want to hear something from someone else or from somebody that's a musician? What are we going to call that?
We are going to call this Musicians Mayhem.
Musicians Mayhem.
And this will be just a free-flowing chat with these cats, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Cool. Whether this is not going to be politically driven, I mean, obviously there's it's, we're probably going to have discussions about it, but no, this is just going to be an open place for people to talk to about the state of music, which I think is somewhat concerning. I think you do have some genuine stuff coming out, but shit, man, I haven't really found a new artist that I was truly impressed with that truly kept me captivated for more than just a handful of songs.
Right.
I mean, remember when you used to buy an album and it was like, boom, put that bitch in, smoke up the tube, and just listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, art. Yeah,
we should definitely do an episode where us 3 all talk about this, because from hearing from 3 separate standpoints, it's like me living in Nashville, man, I can go all day about this topic of how we're kind of entering in a whole new golden age of music, and having your guys' side of it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Jordan, introduce yourself and another subject that we're gonna go over.
Sure. So my name is Jordan Mode. I am the podcast producer of COG. Some of you may know me as being the producer of the Rice Bowl podcast, which is what I do with a fellow friend of ours, Chris Rice. I also am the owner and operator of Crashline Studios Nashville, located in the West Nashville area. We do a lot of media, music, and film production, all in the audio sense. I'm a guitarist as well. I play in the band Suspicious Minds, as well as a national touring songwriter on my own. And this has kind of been like my first branch into the podcasting world. And, especially signing up with Eric, who's actually my brother-in-law, which a lot of people don't know. And this is me and Tom's real first time actually getting to talk and hang out, which I can tell already. Tom's an awesome dude.
Thank you.
But, and we both have a genuine love for great guitars, so that's a good start. But I guess because obviously this is going to be a very driven music podcast, what's going to have as well as crypto and stuff. But we're also going to be discussing politics, and that's going to be an area that we're going to talk about, which a lot of people don't like to talk about. But a free-form forum for politics and discussions of what's going on in current events. And I'm kind of dropping the name at the moment. What are we calling this again?
You ready for this? That's why you're dropping the name.
Yo, ready for this?
Polypsychedelics.
Polypsychedelics.
That's why you dropped
the name. In-depth look of politics. Yeah. Should be a good one. Might get heated.
Psychedelics may be imbibed while talking about
We might have to do this.
Yeah, I think so.
It can
Imagine what that conversation is going to turn into.
Oh my god!
I think that's something we can
Reptilians,
say
man.
for a live
Yeah.
episode. No edits. Like we have to be on our best behavior. Right?
Yeah. Oh god.
Oh, that would be amazing. So
That should be a game show. How long can you keep it together on a live stream with a head full of psilocybin?
that's like Ambien and rubbing one out. Speaking of masturbatoriums, my name is Eric Sullivan. You'll hear Tom call me Sully. For the longest time, I was known as Sully. Still am known as Sully to most people who never even heard my first name. And reason being is because I got a corporate job, which sucked. So I don't know. I got married, and everything just went, as straight laced as Eric Sullivan can possibly be. Sully's still there, but
as straight laced as Eric. I don't think straight laced and Eric Sullivan is ever going to be in the same
It's
sentence.
never going to be a thing. I'll be 6 years old skydiving. Yeah.
No, so I'm actually married to Jordan's sister, and I was in a band with Tom that was a really good time. 6 years. We toured, we lived, we shared bank accounts, we did everything. I mean, at one point in time, shared clothes because the house burned down,
Yeah,
and that shit happens. But
definitely didn't share shoes with you though, Sully.
No, don't do that. Hey, as soon as I got out of the band, as soon as I got out of the band, my foot stuff cleared up. So I'm gonna blame it on you.
That's like a tour rule, though. You never share shoes or socks. Like you just can't do that.
Yeah, boxers are fine.
Oh yeah.
Little bit of the crabs or something. That never hurt nobody.
It's just a gift at that point.
Yeah. Tour gift. Oh, it's a gift from the road, baby.
Right.
Tour momentums.
I'm going to introduce the other segment, the last of the three segments. So we have Musicians Mayhem, we have Polypsychedelic, and what we're going to do is talk about on the other one and bring in various guests regarding it is the currency quagmire. The reason why it's called that is because we're going to take a look at every currency throughout the world, including cryptocurrencies, maybe especially cryptocurrencies, but also the futuristic technology that is attached to those things, and figure out maybe what's going to happen with our currency in America, how it's going to change, and the things that just surround how we best way to say it is express ourselves through stored value of our labor, and that's a big thing to me. I really enjoy that part of life, is looking into the reason why, how, and where we spend our money, and in what form that money is there, because it is our effort as humans stored and then spent as a form of self-expression. So after that, I mean,
wow, dude, that was really well put.
Yeah, that was.
I have to say, that was really
fucking
well
deep.
That was deep. Right?
No, because I was thinking about that when you're talking about currency and how it's a store of your own self-worth. I mean, look at what I spend my money on. I like guitars.
Right.
That's me too.
But you also look at that as an investment too, and you're going to buy a nice guitar that's either going to retain or go up in value.
So how many hours did that guitar cost you?
Which one?
That's a weird thing, right? So how many hours did the guitar cost you? I didn't say how much money. How many hours?
Yeah. How much hours work did it go to get that thing? Yeah.
Well, but it's
about
just
20 hours, no, 30 hours right there.
right. So there's
Actually, no, that one was probably that was a few.
right. So I mean, I wasn't trying to be so profound, and I'm glad I can finally be succinct in what I'd like to get across there. Doing everything on the fly, but yeah, I mean, it to me that's exactly what currency is, and if more people looked at it as such and were taught that kind of method, I don't think we'd be looking at the amount of debt we have in this country, because people would feel like there's a personal responsibility fiduciary responsibility on themselves and not think about things as, oh, well, I can get this credit card and it's just zeros, printed in my bank account, either a debit or a credit. And it is a weird thing. I mean, I've been, really researching currencies for a long time, and a lot of that has to do with politics. So we're going to bleed in, like we keep saying, we're going to bleed in from one thing to another. As far as my concern, or my thing is there's no reason why we need an intermediary between me and myself and my expression. And then all of a sudden I have to go through something like a Federal Reserve and use that note and have all of these stringent laws put on me in order to express that. And that's where the politics comes into play with that stuff. So we'll see a lot of bleed over on this stuff. But for the listener, we're going to try and keep. We're going to try and make sure that if you listen to this podcast because you like the musicians that we, are interviewing, you can just listen to the music stuff, and that's why we're going to brand it as such. And if you like the politics stuff, you can get into the politics stuff. And if you like the, the currency stuff and everything else, you can get into that. I've just seen too many podcasts where I'm trying to listen to something and then it's just a bunk interview and I ditch it after 15 minutes. So clarify the expectations first and foremost, which is what this interview or this podcast is all about, is clarifying the expectations of what this podcast is going to be. And then, hopefully everybody resonates with it and we can move on. So today, Consent of the Governed is born.
Hell yeah.
Happy birthday, bitches.
Rock and roll, baby.
Someone cut the ribbon.
Yeah.
That fucking ribbon. Cut that ribbon.
No, man. Well, that's the one thing, too. You talk about expression and you talk about the debt system and everything else and currencies. And how that plays so much into the state of the political and geopolitical psychedelics, if you will. Because that's how the worth is established, when you basically condition someone to constantly see that, being overspent and having a, $500,000 house and a $30,000 boat and a $40,000 RV and two $40,000 or $50,000 cars, and then having fucking kids on top of that to pay for that, and then paying for private schools. I mean, we were conditioned to believe that was the way, that's what you wanted to strive for, which, in my opinion, I don't agree with. I don't work that much because I don't have to. Because I don't have all that shit.
Live within your means.
Yeah.
Live within your means, and upward mobility. So strive for what you want and understand that, maybe I can't afford that, $3,000 guitar right now because it's not actually $3,000. It's ours. The only currency in my opinion that I actually own and have full claim over is my time. You can't take that away from me. That's my currency. And
that's, once again, the political, geopolitical conditioning is they try to make it that your time's not yours. Especially when you're on somebody else's dime, when you're on a salary. No, that's not your time. No, fuck you, man. It's my time. I can do whatever the hell I want. I can do whatever I feel like. And I hate, once again, condition into living into that debt system your entire life and just basically, barely paying off your house and all this other shit. And then when you're 65, 70 years old, now you get the time to relax. Your body's broken down. You don't want to travel
20
anywhere.
years.
Yeah. And if you're lucky, I'm probably going to make it to 75. I'll be lucky to make it to 75.
Right.
And that's when you're supposed to relax. When you're broken down, fuck that.
So think about this, Tom. I'm gonna bring in Jordan here because it's a really cool thing. Jordan is younger than both Tom and I. Tom and I are roughly the same age. Jordan is a lot younger than us. Tom was smart and went to school, got his bachelor's of science in computer science before he graduated.
No, associates, not a bachelor's.
Associates, sorry. Before he turned 18 and made Wisconsin pay for it, right? So he gets most of his degree done. A lot of states don't offer something like that, and mostly
and they could have. And they could
could've.
have.
They should.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
They should.
So then you have somebody like Jordan who has a passion, who wants to be not just a musician but a producer and understand everything that has to do with the music industry and producing not just music but video, movies and everything like that. And he goes to a school to do it, goes to higher learning, goes to what would be considered a trade school. And Jordan, your debt is probably off the hook right now. You don't have to disclose that if you don't want to, but let me know what your experience was with it. You know
what's crazy is like, yeah, it's pretty astronomical, and it's one of those things where it's like you look at it and you go, how does one simply offer a tuition for a music degree, knowing how the industry is today? Like, I mean, like, trust me, it was a great school. I loved Full Sail. I loved the whole program. I learned a lot and everything. I'm thankful for it. But like, do I think it was worth the amount that they're charging for it? Probably not. But at the end of the day, that's neither here or there. Yeah, but.
Well, that's the social engineering aspect of it. So when we talk about debt, right? Back in the 70s, because nobody even remembers what it's like to back then in the 70s. And I'll even ask my grandmother a couple of different questions, and she'll be like, "Oh yeah, you're right, it was like that." And I'll have to remind her of what it was like. And she's a sharp cat. But one of the things is like, you can look at a house now in the $200,000 range in my area in the mountains. That's astronomical price. You have to get a mortgage for that, right? You have to go in debt for that, and it's engineered that way, right? So before, in the 70s, you had to get half of that house was the down payment. 50% you had to have down. What did that do? It brought the price of the house down. So what we've seen over the course of this time is an actual paradigm shift where now the affordable rate is left up to how much you can borrow, right? Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, well, I don't have to have the money anymore to get the thing.
And then
I don't have to explain my self-worth in a real way. I have to borrow my self-worth from a bank.
Yeah, and this is what ties into all the whole birth certificate thing, like you were talking about, like how much are these people worth? Our time is probably the most precious. I mean, it really is time. Mm-hmm. It's precious.
And to give this an equation, right, for all the math nerds out there, I'm not one, but for all the math nerds out there, when your birth certificate was created, if you were born pre-1975, the number is 70 years worth of estimated tax. And that, if you were born at 1975, was $630,000. And that's what you were worth, according to the Federal Reserve, according to the powers that be, according to the World Bank. You were worth $630,000 the minute you were born. And we won't go into all the minutia that goes around outside of it. They want
and
you
this
to
plays
borrow
into the
money.
music side of things. Takes you back when we were playing music, was $340,000 to chart an album. So
you want to know how much it costs to produce one today? I can tell you. It ain't $340,000
to produce or chart. To chart.
Get it on the chart.
To chart it might cost that with marketing, but to produce one, it's much cheaper and affordable nowadays.
No, this was to actually chart an album on the top 100.
Yeah.
And in whatever particular genre, and this was back in 2003 or 2006.
And it shows you the difference in a couple.
But look at our wages from 1970 till now. Look at our wages from 1990 until now. Look at I look at a lot of houses and I look what they sold for previously in a lot of different areas across the country. Not because I'm some kind of real estate mogul. I don't know shit about real estate, and I fucking predict any market out there.
Maybe we get one on here.
Financial advice.
We should get a real estate agent on here.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
But I've noticed for what they sold for, and I understand certain areas had natural disasters and whatnot, but you look what they sold for back in even 2013, 2016, and ridiculous how everything just went.
Oh yeah.
I mean, my God, it just blew up to the point of, if you were in your early 30s and you had a job making 60, 70 grand a year if you're lucky, 50 or 60, which should be a nice wage, but really isn't that great of a salary considering $50,000 or $60,000 was a decent salary back in 1995.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like an outstanding salary, but it was still a decent salary, and you could afford to put some money away, buy a house, buy a car, do all that shit.
Live within your means comfortably.
Mhm.
And the crazy thing is 2008, you know, pre 2008, like we were just talking about, you know, the 2006, you know, as far as like the actual housing crash started in 2006, we didn't feel it till 2008, right? Well, 2006, they created something called a ninja loan, and it was so sneaky. But,
Sneaky,
That is sneaky.
carrot dick, man, carrot dick.
It's a carrot. You don't even know.
In and out, you don't even know. It's like,
you don't even know. So Ninja is actually an acronym, and it's no income, no job approved. And that was what they were doing. They were giving $500,000 houses out to a single income home, you know, family home that made what I do as a subcontractor building houses. And that's one income they'd give a $500,000 house to. Why? Because they were going to short that market. They were going to short that market, and they did
dude,
it.
A $500,000 loan. That mortgage is $1 million.
That's insane.
That's
an insane
30-year mortgage that you're going to probably spend the first 15 years paying off for nothing but the principal.
Well,
nothing but the
the interest.
Percentage. The interest.
Yeah, the interest.
That's insane.
So at that time, these loans were actually so an ARM, adjustable rate mortgage, which means that they could adjust your interest rate at the level at any given time, real time. At any given time, they can adjust your rate, right? So that's a recipe for disaster, right? That means that's the reason why we had the 2008 collapse. And a lot of people don't seem to understand that all wars are bankers' wars. All recessions or depressions are bankers shorting the market. We can see that in the crypto market, right? You'll even Trump and Giancarlo and what's his nuts from the fucking Mnuchin from the Treasury said straight up, no, we took one of the markets that should be the least manipulatable, which is cryptocurrencies, and we manipulated it, and they admitted to it in 2018. The end of 2018, they admitted to it after Giancarlo left the CFTC. So we're looking at the ability of our government to not only engineer our livelihood and the paradigm.
And then, you know, by government, you should also include big banks, central banks, because those are some of the, that's some of the biggest pains in the asses. And also and look at like some of the big players in the crypto sphere are dirty motherfuckers, and it's easy to manipulate them because they have a whole lot of skeletons in their closet. You have that on top of that.
I have legitimately sat face to face and met face to face and talked with a not only accused but convicted pedophile in the cryptocurrency industry that is looked at in the cryptocurrency industry as one of the best people in the world. And I disagree. I will never once bring him on this show without clarifying the expectation that I'm going to destroy him on the show.
Brock Pierce?
Oh, yeah, you can throw the name out. That's fine.
No, I'd throw it out there.
Yes.
Brock Pierce, man.
Yeah,
this is actual fact. This is fact.
Yeah, he was the
Collins Rector. Him and Mark
he was
Collins
the
Rector.
He was the kid. You know, you remember that opening scene on the Mighty Ducks when the kid missed the goal, the 1, 2, 3 triple deke, and he missed the goal, and that was him. He was a child actor, and then he actually got nailed with one of his buddies and some big Hollywood guy.
Dude,
they actually
Mark Collins Rector was one of the guys, and I
nailed for
I don't want to slander
child porn and pedophilia. Yeah, I mean it's
moved to Spain and everything else,
and he got away, and he's down in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, I mean we're
Hey, I just want to put this out there, man. He's down in Puerto Rico, and all of a sudden now he's running for president. And what can they not do to you when you're running for president? Well, they can't smear you. They can't do any.
And I'll tell you this that it's going to catch up to him. I met him in Miami, January. I met him in Miami in January of this year. He's free to walk about and do all of his stuff. How much money did that cost? Going back to Brock and Mark Collins Rector, in my opinion, the entire cryptocurrency scene is filled with a lot of people that are looking to make the change. And it started with looking to make real change. And I think every industry is doing that and experiencing this flip of what you would call institutional corruption, right? So where the most corrupt people at the top, whether it's in the music industry or crypto or medicine, you're seeing now with COVID, all of these things, we're seeing this flip, this awakening of, all right, let's get all the skeletons out of the closet on this. I'm seeing it. I look at it. I watch it constantly just because it's a passion of mine. A lot of people don't see it, and I'm kind of depressed about it. But real quick, to close everything out, where does everybody feel like this world is going in all aspects of what we just talked? All three. Where do you feel like music?
Don't say that word "feel." That's such a pussy term. Like,
God, organic and
so organic. How do you feel about this situation? I don't fucking care how I feel about it. I tell you what I'm going to do about the situation. My opinion on the situation, my opinion on where things are going.
Sure.
Straight from the horse's mouth, baby.
It's gold.
It's video gold, baby.
It's gold.
No, where this is headed is obviously people are starting to notice the system the system that they're a part of, and how the system is not sustainable, and they have been played for so long. I've seen a lot of articles out there too about overall opinion about people really kind of evaluating their life and evaluating what's important to them and what's not, minimizing their life. There's still the people out there that are just going crazy and going big, but I think it's just going to happen more and more as the economy turns farther and farther south, because you can't go through this much downtime without any major economical repercussions, and that's what you're going to see in the up and coming months. And unless Trump pulls out the Trump card, which we'll talk about in future episodes,
yeah.
We're really going to have a tough time getting back on track. So now is the time to really realize what matters in your life. Yeah. And really
audit your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's one thing that I think is actually a lot of people. I actually just did a huge write up about this not too long ago about the music industry and where it's going. A lot of people think this is kind of like the end of the music, the quote unquote, the end of the music industry. But the way that everyone's been seeing it, at least here in Nashville, is that this is actually the platform of launching the new music industry, where the power is going to be entirely in the hands of the musician. So thinking like almost like record labels are going to become a thing of the past. You can promote yourself, you can push yourself, you can do anything you want to do nowadays. And it may require you to write more music quicker and this and that. It's actually really exciting, because like nowadays it's like, oh well, I have the technology that would have cost me thousands of dollars to go get a song done. I can do this in my house now, and with a $500 marketing campaign, my song can hit 1 million streams, and I can go gold.
And that's the thing. Now you can go out and find the artists, like let's say these up and coming artists that are good looking, that are very talented, what have you. I mean, that's entertainment, right?
Yeah.
And you can now directly market to these individuals. And so you could be writing music for these individuals that are incredibly, beautiful and talented and everything else. Yeah. And so you don't even have to, so it's really good for everybody across the board, from the songwriters to producers.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the general theme, in my opinion, of what you guys had just said is this idea of disintermediation, right? So to be able to take away the person that was standing in front of you in order to get to your dream, whether that's financial stability or being completely sovereign with the birth certificate thing in politics, having your freedom, your true freedom. All of those things are starting to, like, the veil is being lifted, and we're starting to see that all of these people that were standing in the way, the middlemen that were standing in the way, and the people that were creating those middlemen, that were all, tearing us apart and making us go after ourselves and separating us from each other. Well, now technology, whether it's Bitcoin or Zoom or any of these
Pro
podcasts
Tools,
and stuff,
dude,
Pro
or,
Tools,
Yeah.
Pro Tools,
Avid, man.
Yeah.
all of these good technologies, I'm hoping smart contracts end up destroying everything that we know as far as the political system, because we don't need them anymore. We have math. We don't need your Federal Reserve. Why? Because we have math. We have code. We have things that will work in our favor because they were built not for them, but they were built for us. And it's going to separate us from the system or the paradigm that was holding us back by a ton of intermediaries that were standing in our way. Jordan wanted an education. He had to go to a bank. I wanted a house. I had to go to a bank. Tom, he wanted a guitar. He doesn't go to a bank.
I went and fucking bought it.
So,
I wanted a microphone. I sold something I had that I didn't need, and I went out and bought it.
But this idea of, in my opinion, all humanity, doesn't matter what country you live in, you only need a few things. I mean, obviously, besides your food, your water, all of your shelter, all that jazz, right? But you only want a few things. You want peace. You want a good, stable income and to be able to provide for your family. And then you want to see upward mobility, not just for yourself, but for your kids. And those things were hampered. And
I think
we're
what people forgot and all that, not to interrupt, I know we're running out of time here, but on top of that though too, I'd say peace, but also, a happy, healthy, stable relationship, friends, family.
Yes.
People that are
family and friends,
because
the time to let those things be fruitful and blossom. And I know you'll probably get on me about using the term blossom because it's not me.
No, I'd rather hear blossom than organic.
Organic.
It's organic. Don't panic. It's organic.
This might be a good spot to wrap it up. Yeah, this might be a good spot to wrap it up.
Yeah, fellas. This has been amazing, and for episode 000, I think we got it all nailed down, and definitely look forward to doing another. I know we have some on deck that we've been working on and everything else, and we're gonna put Jordan to work here. And you may not see his face a whole lot. We'll bring him in as much as possible.
I want to see your face.
I want to see your face.
I don't mind coming on the show. Yeah, let's do it.
Mm-hmm. But you just understand that not only is he there, but there's quite a few other people that are involved in this to make this go. And a big shout out to everybody we know, including like Rice from Rice Crypto and all of his stuff. And Jason, everybody else, my wife, Tom's wife, Jordan's girlfriend, for letting us all do this, because behind every good man is an even better woman. And you can see a lot more in the future regarding some other folks we know who are quite the character, and we'll give them little spots on the on the podcast as well, and they'll get their time.
All right, goodbye.
Later.
Peace, guys.
Take it easy, fellas.